Winifred Knight with us today. Winn is a very dynamic and versatile marketer from South Africa. We are absolutely delighted that Winn has agreed to host a talk show, Coffee with Winn, in which she will interview the finest marketing minds in India. Hi Winn, how are you?
I'm brilliant, and thank you for inviting me and giving me the honor to have coffee with Winn. As long as it's hot, all the time.
It is a pleasure.
Coffee with Winn, and this is our first session. My name is Winifred Knight, and I have the distinct pleasure of talking to Rajesh Kumar. Welcome.
Hi, Winn.
I want to ask you a couple of questions. It's informal. Let's just chat and have a cup of coffee. Let me kick off with my very first question. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Who are you? What are you doing? What is your role in SAP, and what do you find exciting about your work?
Thank you, Winn. I've been in sales and marketing for almost 2 decades now. I started my career in automobiles, then I moved on to sell alcoholic beverages, and then I got into confectionery, which is children's category I greatly enjoyed. And then, the .com, circa 2001 happened, which is when I joined a startup in IT. And then I moved on to another IT company, which was Microsoft. And then I moved about 3 years back to SAP. I'm really excited working at SAP because, SAP today powers almost 63% of world's transactions. 85% of top brands in the world are SAP customers. SAP impacts, governments, defense forces, utilities, social services, large companies, SMEs, all across. The opportunity to make a change to the world is just enormous.
Well, that is quite a distinctive background that you have there. In the new world of marketing, it is new, it is now, and there are a tremendous amount of changes. What do you find, and what are the 3 or 5 high points that you believe is making a change in this world?
These are very interesting times, and I have a visual analogy which somebody gave to me and which is stuck on. If the earlier era was like working on a ship, like a Titanic, the captain gave you the command and you did your job well. So today's era is like the whitewater rapids, where really you're constantly 24/7, dealing with change, and there is no let go. As you said earlier in our conversation, that's really the new normal, yes. Right? And I think the challenge for marketers also encapsulates the opportunity. I think opportunity to step up and take a larger piece of ownership is really immense. I think today the way customers are engaging with us, whether it is consumption of our messages, information, the media, or in fact the way they consume products and services is changing, right? How do you provide customers a consistent experience across multiple channels? How do you talk to this consumer where they're not taking push messages, but they're really pulling and asking for information that they need? I think need for authenticity, need for being spontaneous, need for being in touch with them is really changed the way one looked at marketing, right? I think that, with the influx of other technologies like mobile and so on and so forth, really is making the world flat in some sense. I think that's bringing a complete shift in the way we look at marketing.
We're looking at it from a marketer's point of view. Give me an idea or a feeling from the customer's point of view, not only your customers, but generally, where they are in control. They've moved from consumers to prosumers. How do you feel they are shaping the way that marketers are doing business or should be doing business with them?
We recently interviewed a bunch of young people aged from about 10 to 25, 26. And it was very interesting. If you look at, traditional, we always tended to look at consumer and business sort of marketing separately. But today, the consumer is really talking one-to-one to the company and to the marketer. So this whole thing about talking to them en masse with fine-tuned messages, that's really gone away. They're really talking to you one-to-one. Whereas on the business side, you are no longer talking to the organization. It's the user who's increasingly deciding how do they want to consume a product, service, or even a technology. And the era of tablets and the era of mobile devices, people are really choosing how they want to consume. So it's bringing everything together, and I think bringing the focus back to the consumer, which I think is a very interesting trend. And us as marketers, we need to learn how to deal with it and how to provide that value back.
Well, that's an interesting observation. And talking about the young people, do you believe that the youngsters of today have the skills to provide the marketing and the marketing expertise to encapsulate customers? And do you think the consumer, the young consumer, understand how the marketers are working? And do we have the skills? Is there sufficient skills in the marketing place or in the economy? Youngsters to become good marketers, solid and fundamentally.
Well, there is, absolutely. I think the kind of talent that you see, and you meet young people, they are just so bright, sharp, and so clued in. Absolutely. I think we have great talent in young people. They are they have great opportunity to exposure to new media, to a lot more information that people had before. But at the same time, I think somewhere there is opportunity to bring the both together. I also do believe fundamentally what you are trying to set out to do has not really changed. People still want a good product or service. People want it at a place where they want to consume it, they want to buy it, be it online, be it in the store, be it elsewhere. People want it to be priced reasonably, which they think there's a right equation between value and what they have to give, and they want to get the messages of what they want to get, which gives them the information to make up their mind. That hasn't changed really, but how they go about it, where they pick up that information, how they deal with it, that has changed. I think there is great opportunity to actually marry the two. I mean, if I were to look at doing something in the new media, absolutely it'll be somebody who was born in that era. But at the same time, you got to marry it, to how the whole thing has evolved. What's your product, service, and what's been the learning behind it over the years. So once you marry the two, it's the best outcome. Only challenge today is, I think, it's probably not the best way to look at the present from lens of the past. I think what you've done in the past is an advantage if you carefully apply to the new paradigm. And I think we are all learning in this age.
And again, very interesting. What do you think about this, the new technology, the new move into social media, digital, and the on the spot, on the line, real time that is happening? Are we losing the older consumer?
So I think inherently, if you look at it, inherently we are all social, right? I think the social media has really provided a new way to make that real, make that happen at a much larger scale, across boundaries and across geographies and across age groups and ethnicities and so on and so forth, right? Like any technology, I think there will be adoption cycle. Some places where it will make sense, some places it won't, right? So I think both will coexist. I don't think one is going to take over the other.
Yeah, I agree with you there. We have found, and I have read tons of articles, and I suffer from exactly the same situation of information overload. And there is really nobody has found, how do you sift through all of this information? How do you work with it? How do you know what is relevant and good for you and good for your business and good for your personal life? How do you cope with information overload?
I think that's a tough one. I don't think I've been a great manager of my time, but I think I've tried to learn along the way. And I think typically what at least I found which helps is to decide, what are the 2 or 3 things you want to get done today. Focus on them and get them done. And some of them may change during the day, something may come up, but it's important, I think, in this environment of change and over information, focus and being clear what you got to do and what you can probably not do is important. Again, it's easy to say. I'm not sure it's so easy to do, but I see that as probably the only way to go forward and deal with it.
Absolutely. Tell me, as the head of marketing and traveling extensively and have the background that you have on a wide variety of products and services, what tools are you specifically using that makes life easier for you to do your job and to stay in touch, not only with your company, but with your family and everybody else? Are there a couple of tools that you pack and you have to be able to make yourself productive and being in touch with what you need to do?
I think I work for a technology company, so that makes the life easier. I have access to all the latest technology with me, so wherever I am, I'm always connected to the company. I'm connected to my work. I'm connected to email via mobile devices or whatever have you. So I think never far away. I can log into work from anywhere, get work done anywhere, connect with people. So that's really empowering. So it's really not dependent on where I am or whether I'm in office or not. Right? And same, I think, goes, all these tools today are available in personal life as well. And when you're traveling, actually sometimes you have a lot more time to read. You have a lot more time to connect and talk to people. You have a lot more time to think about topics which you probably don't have in a regular day at work. So I think it's and I enjoy traveling. I enjoy exploring new places. I enjoy experiencing new cultures, new food, and everything that goes with it. So I really enjoyed that experience. So it's not it works for me.
Do you work when you travel on a plane, or do you just take the time relaxing?
I usually work or read or do something when I'm on the plane, except if it's an overnight flight, then I prefer to sleep.
Yeah, I took a decision many years ago. I will never work on a plane. That is my time off that I have. On a different note, what sort of a shopper are you? And the question, because I'm asking that, is to find out what's your thoughts on buying behavior and paying behavior. But tell me first, are you a shopper? Do you see it as a therapy? Do you buy brands? Are you brand conscious?
I am a shopper. I am usually very curious, and I many times take a time to walk around even a shopping mall and see what are the new products in the market, what are the type of people who are buying, how they're merchandising those products, how they're selling, how the new trends. So I love to do that. So I'm a shopper, and I like to observe the trends. Personally, for me, I see a place for different things. There are areas where I'd like to go with the brands, and brand for me is a trusted person almost. I think brand applies to a product, brand applies to a service, brand applies to a person who runs the retail outlet. People have learned to deal with over a period of time, be it my doctor, be it my salon, wherever it is. So to me, it's a larger concept than just product or services. And other than that, yes, I always look for value, for how can I maximize value for what I'm buying. That drives quite a lot of my behavior.
On that note of branding, SAP is, if you have to put a character to it, what would you say it is?
So SAP, I don't know if you read the recent report. SAP is the number 25 brand in the top 100 or top most valued brands in the world. It's actually ahead of many popular, very well-known, iconic consumer brands. Right? So SAP has long been known for the application software that it provides to the largest corporations in the world. But over the years, SAP has also changed and now SAP plays actually across multiple product categories. So we have solutions not only in the applications but in mobile category. So we provide solutions for corporations to do the bring your own device to work initiatives in their place, where you can manage various mobile devices centrally, which employees bring to work. We have very leading cloud solutions in the world, like SuccessFactors for HR and talent management, Ariba for procurement. We have a lot of very industry specific solutions. We have solutions in the area of analytics. So our offering, which is called HANA, which helps you deal real time with enormous amounts of data and be able to do analysis and predict the trends. So we actually have solutions now across the board.
And I see that you also work across a vast number of vertical industries. So you have experience across the board. Coming back to big data, are doing analytics and have certain software packages to work with that. What do you think about this whole buzz and concept of big data?
No, it's real, because the amount of information that we are collecting today, through social media, increasingly videos and so many other formats, is enormous. And there is enormous amounts of information which is locked away in companies' archives and back-end data systems. I think the technology today offers an opportunity to unlock that value and understand really, what your consumer wants, what they have been buying in the past, what might decide their behavior in the future. It's really possible today, which was never possible before. So I think it's hugely empowering, but at the same time, this is a very strategic area. So companies really need to think about, where and how do they want to drive this transformation. And we are actually helping a lot of companies do so using design thinking, methodology. So we are actually a big proponent of design thinking, and we do design thinking workshops for our customers, where we encourage them to think really, grounds up, completely afresh, and look at, what would they want to, where would they want to be, and how to make that happen if there were no boundaries, if there were no constraints. And we are seeing some very encouraging results.
What do you think about the privacy policies and legislation around all of that? Do you think it is going to eventually get to a stage where people are saying, that's enough, I now want to get out of it, and you're not allowed to use it, and I don't want to be just a number? What do you think, and do you think that the privacy is going to stifle the way companies are doing business?
I think privacy has always been important, and I think the way new market and consumers are evolving, it's going to change, because we are really, moving away from a push-based approach to a pull-based approach. I don't know how long you're going to use like databases to reach consumers, because you don't even know, same consumer has a different identity on like a Facebook versus a LinkedIn versus a Twitter, right? You don't know who you're dealing with. So you're actually dealing with personas, and people are deciding how you want to, how they want you to engage with them. So, inherently they decide. So I think the whole equation is changing. And I think, government is driving the legislation to make all the, companies and organizations around it more responsible. And I think it's, I don't see, any risk or any, significant change in the way we look at privacy. I think it's only the way the consumers get a lot more voice in who contacts them, how they contact them.
That is very true. I think that many consumers are getting nervous that there is so much out there about them, and all they actually want is to sell them what they want, or they want to buy what they want, and they can. In sales and marketing for over 20 years. And the debate is continuously going on about marketing and sales, and as a consultant I have found on numerous occasions the animosity between sales and marketing. What is your thoughts and what is your experience? Should they collaborate? should they be working closer together? Because sales are saying, I'm closing the deal, marketing is saying, I'm bringing you the leads. But how do you have to sort that out? Because it is there, and I don't think it's going to go away. And we're talking sales and marketing. We're not bringing in IT at the moment, who is another entity that plays a big role.
So I think we are all trying to serve the same purpose. I think if we deliver value to the customer, and help company, do business, we all succeed. I think today's environment does not give us opportunity to walk different paths. I think, if we don't work together, we are not going to succeed. So we have to work together, and, everyone has a role to do. I mean, I don't feel marketing successful if my sales colleague doesn't feel we've helped them sell. Right? At the same time, sales teams will have more immediate pressures, and whereas we will have opportunity to provide input or deliver value more mid to long term, looking at the business and the markets and so on. So I think I don't think we can afford to have that debate. I think we have to work together. That's the only path to survival. I would say it's just we have to work together as one team.
I wish the message gets out into the world that
it's more apparent in our industry than anywhere else.
What is happening to the older marketer? Do you think they still have a role to play in the day, in this new economy and environment that we are? And by the older marketer, I'm talking about, inclusive of myself, where we find that the knowledge, the experience, the practicalities of how we worked is starting to get lost. It's like the old people sitting around the campfires talking about stories of how things have been. And I find that more and more the older generation with so much value and knowledge is disappearing. How can we bring them back into the fold to give is it relevant?
So I mean, it's an interesting question, and I actually have never thought of it like a generation. I think irrespective when you started and what generation you are, I think the biggest challenge for us as marketers, and I would almost argue in any job, is to keep ourselves relevant. I mean, I think it's better for us to wake up every morning and say, how do I keep myself relevant? Because things around us are changing so fast. So experience is valuable only if applied carefully in the right manner. I think if that becomes our primary lens, that's probably not going to work. At the same time, I think some part of it is marketing, but some part of it is actually dealing and making things happen. That's where I think the experience and expertise and having seen many more changes and having dealt with many more situations comes in really handy. So I think it's more about the mindset and the right combination of people. I think as you said earlier, the environment is changing so fast. You are deluged with stuff. So somebody who can keep calm and who can help the team wade through or successfully navigate through it is definitely valuable.
I like that answer. I think the relevancy of it, and if you keep yourself relevant, then there is always a place for you to be. Another question, women in marketing. The women have been fighting for a long time to get to the corner office. What is your views on women in marketing? Do you see them as relevant? Do you believe that they contribute well to a company?
Again, I mean, I think it's very, in my view, it's really dependent on who you are. it really doesn't matter whether you're a man or a woman. I think if you're good and if you're driven, if you're passionate about what you do, you will succeed. In my experience, I would say women probably have an advantage because they have an inherent sense of aesthetics. They have inherent ability to deal with contradictions and conflicts and bring people together and look at, if it were the right side of brain more holistically. I think, they really have an advantage. And, we have very strong women leaders in our team who really do well.
Talking about women in marketing, the CMO has now got a place at the C-suite room. What in industries to move the marketing person, irrespective of who they are, onto the board and understand the value they're bringing? Why did it take so long?
It's a natural evolution of marketing itself. I think somewhere marketing in the industrial age started more as a communications and getting the message out to drive consumption of mass-produced goods. But I think over a period of time, as things have become more complex and products and services have become more complex, the challenges of the business have become more complex, I think the fundamental role of CMO has changed. CMO is really becoming owner of the customer and the advocate of the customer in the organization. That's why they are getting more engaged with the technology decisions, working with CIOs and a whole bunch of other decisions. So the ask on CMO is really to work with all the stakeholders and peers and help drive the overall picture. And that's where, that's what is really leading CMO to a more position of strength. And I think it's a good trend.
Yes, I believe that it is an excellent trend and that they are being taken much more seriously. Just a few more questions before I'm going to let you go. The role of direct data, digital response, interactive, the measurement of it and the accountability of it. Do you think that is becoming more prominent and that more marketers and more financial directors and CEOs are taking note of it? This famous return on marketing investment, is that becoming more and more prominent as you see it traveling around?
Yes, it is. I think earlier, the direct marketing always got limited to, either to business type of, engagements, or where there was a very small and defined audience, because the scale was almost impossible to handle, or it made to use the mass media more attractive. But I think today, with the new media, new technological tools, and so on and so forth, it really gives you ability to do one-to-one, be it, irrespective of what product or service that you do. I think that is changing, and therefore the ROI question, or how do you get return for what you invest, that's getting more prominent, and I think it's a good thing for the marketer.
Yes, I again agree with you, and I think the Cinderella syndrome of direct marketing is moving away, and
I think that's where the role of technology in helping decode or simplify that whole complex cube of multiple dimensions is immense. And that's why I think the need for the new CMOs or the marketing leaders to become tech savvy, become data savvy, is really very high. It doesn't mean that you give away the art part of it, but really you need a balanced perspective between both art and science to make it work today.
What makes you get up in the morning?
Well, actually in this case my cup of tea that I have with my wife, along with the morning newspaper, and then I love to go for a walk or do some yoga. That's why I'm a morning person, so I wake up really early. I see off my daughter to the school, and then I have my cup of coffee or tea with my wife, along with the morning newspaper, then a walk, yoga, and that's my morning schedule.
And the very last question, what book or books would you recommend anybody in marketing, communication, advertising to read that will get they need to look at marketing differently?
Let me think. I actually read a whole bunch of books on very varied topics. So they don't necessarily have to do with marketing, but more to do with the changing business environment and the change. So I would say, more than anything else, I think dealing with the change. So 2 books I read, one was, Gregory Pishia. I'm just trying to remember the name. I think it was Thriving on Chaos.
Oh,
and the another one, which I've always liked, I love, books by Ram Charan. Most of his books, be it Know-How, be it his new one, In the Times of Economic Downturn, I found all of them, great.
Any questions from your side?
How do you see challenges and answers similar in the markets outside India?
Yes, I travel extensively, and I have to admit that the challenges are the same virtually everywhere, and it is customers, the changing customers taking control. Technology, of course, is just so vast, changing so quickly, and with the advent of mobile being in your pocket and you sleep with it, and virtually, my nieces are continuously talking to each other, even at the table, which irritates me tremendously. My concerns are skills. I just don't believe there are sufficient skills for people out there. And it is not the normal marketing skills. That's what you're talking about. What is the changes in the world? What neuroscience, how people are thinking, and all of that. What else would be? I think that data is a major problem. We have people such as yourself who has the business tools to manage it, but there are the smaller man in the street, the SME or the middle company that cannot afford it, that don't understand how important it is. And if they but only know that the diamonds are in their own backyard, in other words, mine your database and work with that all the time. They're expensive, they're often not profitable. But the challenges are not very different.
Actually today, a lot of the cloud-based solutions, save you that trouble, because you can really almost get started immediately, and they don't, cost a lot of time or effort or money to set up.
But it's correct what you're saying. My concerns are that you know it, your company knows it, your people knows it, but the people outside don't. It's the secret that most companies have. They know about cloud-based, but they don't know how to use it. I think there should be much out there to make it happen.
Oh, I agree. I think that's a task ahead of us. And that's where I think, organizations like, various marketing platforms like DMAI and so on, I think they have a really key role to play to spread that awareness and, get marketers empowered. I want to ask you one more thing. You've been coming to India. What's your observations here? What do you see in the country, and where do you think the big opportunity for marketers is?
Well, there's a couple. India is vast. It's just way beyond what we could think of. I think you're the second largest country in the world. What I know about you is from the BRICS. You're part of the BRICS, as we from South Africa are. I think there is a tremendous amount of opportunity. I think there needs to be lots more education in how marketing or getting out there to the people is going to make a difference. And that's why we have the DMAI to be able to take that into the marketplace. I think if I had to put you on a scale of 1 to 10 on direct marketing, I think you are fantastic retailers and sellers and so on. But I would say you probably about 4 or 5. I think there is an enormous amount of improvement that can happen. And I'm I'm also living in a developing country, and I see that. We believe that we are far ahead, but if we have to look at really where to place you on that curve, I think we still have some way to go. But there is a lot of opportunity. But there's no borders anymore. So
no, fantastic. I think there is obviously a great opportunity to learn, and I think through DMAI, bringing various, associations or bodies across the world, I think that's a great opportunity for us to cross-pollinate the ideas and best practices and learnings.
yes,
We really look forward to that.
absolutely. And I hope that we're going to see more of you, that we're going to have more coffees with you.
Absolutely.
And thank you very much.
Thank you so much.